Great afternoon. Great afternoon. Happy Wednesday. Happy Winning Wednesday. Happy Wealthy Wednesday, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon to the Legacy Lab, 60 Minutes to Black Financial Freedom. I am your host, Stephanie Miller Henderson, from the beautiful city of Chicago. It's such a beautiful day today. The weather is nice. I am super excited, as I am every day. But I want to definitely thank last week's guest, Pam Kelly. Pam Kelly is the founder and owner of Perennial Preparedness. Pam Kelly developed a campaign that is coined the 5-10-10-75 campaign. And if you want more information about this amazing woman who provides faith-based, financial, and strategic lifestyle preparedness, you can connect with her by visiting her site, century5101075.com. Or you can also participate in her economic development campaign called the Million Brick March. And you can find out more information about the Million Brick March at millionbrickmarch.com. So huge shout out to you, Pam Kelly. And if you are a business owner, a Black owned business owner, whether you are in the nonprofit sector, you're an entrepreneur on any level, or you have a program or an initiative that you would like to share, definitely connect with me. I would love to promote your business right here on the Legacy Lab, where we are a podcast that you can find on any podcast platform. But please do visit IntellectualRadio.com, where you can also hear the audio there. And feel free to subscribe to the Intellectual Radio YouTube channel. You can also find me, Stephanie Miller Henderson, on YouTube, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, all of your social media platforms. Follow me, send me a message. Let me know your thoughts about the show. If you want to come on and lift any topic as it relates to Black financial wealth building or financial freedom, I definitely am open to it. This is all about uplifting and empowering our people on an economic level. And so, again, thank you for tuning in to the Legacy Lab, y'all. I want to give a quick shout out to my amazing husband, Carlton Henderson. Carlton, if you are listening, definitely let me know some kind of way. Send me a signal, right? You might be on Facebook. You might be tuned in via YouTube. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your prayers. And I really enjoyed Earth Day with Mr. Henderson on yesterday. So I'm super excited about that and all that he is going to do as a founder of a nonprofit himself. And since I'm talking about it, let me just give a quick shout out to him and his work with urban awareness for marine conservation. You know, that's a stereotype that, Black women can't, Black women, they got Black women on my mind. That's because Wanda and I was just talking about all the things that we as women get all the months, Mother's Day, Women's History Month. So I had that on my mind. Sorry. Black people, the stereotype is that Black people can't swim. That's what I was trying to get at. And so, Mr. Henderson has this organization called Urban Awareness for Marine Conservation, or UAMC, where the mission is to enlighten young people, Black children and teens, about marine conservation and about marine sciences. So shout out to you for that, sir. And with his partnership with the Shed Aquarium and all the great work that they are getting ready to do. I even participated in a coastal cleanup last year, and I definitely will increase that on this year. So you're hearing me say that publicly, Carlton, that I will get into coastal cleanups this year. And you all, that means I will be cleaning up the beach. with him and the young people that help to make sure that the marine life is safe and that our water is safe, right? So that's a very important initiative. If you would like more information, feel free to message me or, comment or drop it somewhere. But definitely an important mission and initiative in the city of Chicago, being led by a Black man born and raised in Chicago. And so, again, enjoyed Earth Day. And it was such a beautiful day. I felt like a VIP person. I had no clue a lot of the stuff they were talking about as it relates to fish and things, but I was just happy to be there and get the VIP shared aquarium treatment. So that was great. Um, Hey there, Karshina. I see you tuning in, my sister in success. How are you? Karshina is shaking and moving this Autism Awareness Month. Super proud of her and excited to be in partnership with her. Listen, I have something that I just want to talk about today. Um, This is Financial Literacy Month, and the premise of the Legacy Lab is, all things around building Black wealth, Black financial health, financial wellness, all the things. So there has been, unless you have just not watched the news or read any articles or anything, or participated in any of the withdrawals that have taken place around big box stores, you wouldn't know what I'm about to talk about right now. You wouldn't may not have even heard about it. But most of you are aware that there has been a national push to boycott Target. And so I have not I've mostly talked about building wealth, the rationale behind why it's so important in our community. Um and I have not talked much about this whole, economic withdrawal, right? And so I want to take a moment today to lift that. And I definitely welcome your calls because this is an opportunity for you to share, lift your voice, share your thoughts about the boycott and just about the economic blackout in general. Um, I this is I want to say not a new initiative, right? We've seen economic withdrawals throughout history, but this has been in response to the walking back of DEI policies and initiatives, diversity, equity, and inclusion um, initiatives. So, in response to these policies being walked back, many people, and it's not only Black people. Great afternoon to you, Adonis. Is not just Black people. This is national. Everybody is participating in this. So look, let's get into it. And again, I welcome your calls. Call in at 708-223-8953. Again, that number is 708-223-8953. And let's get into it. I definitely want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear your voice. Have you participated in the boycott or in the economic blackout on any level? If so, why is it so important to you? And if you haven't, why not? We know that there were many people who were still going into the stores. I saw some videos on social media. I saw one that kind of made me laugh a bit. There was a lady who was literally in the store telling Black people in whisper mode, she's like, you're not supposed to be in here, right? She was literally walking up to people saying that. And so when she walked up to one lady, and that lady was with a white woman, and she whispers her. She said, you're not supposed to be in here, right? And so the white woman, joined the conversation or wanted to join the conversation. She was like, oh, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to my sister right here. And it made me chuckle a bit that she was like holding people accountable, right? Um, because sometimes it's all or none, right? Sometimes you need all hands on deck to really make an impact. And we know that we've spent enough, we've bought enough. So it's almost like, okay, we don't need another thing, right? Unless it's something that is a necessity for your home or something, related to your health, like your medicine or something like that. So let's get into it. At the forefront of this boycott of Target is a pastor from Georgia. His name is Jamal Bryant. Jamal Bryant, he's an author, he's an activist. He's a former political candidate. I'm not sure which office he ran for, but Reverend Bryant or Pastor Bryant launched a 40-day fast during the Lent season from Target. So this was last month, I believe maybe like March 5th, the fast kicked off. And since then, it evolved into a national boycott. And it has resulted in, or at least the last figure, the last number that I read was that it resulted in a revenue loss of over $12 billion, in addition to the falling stock prices. And so things are happening. The people are responding. People are listening. People are listening and exercising their right. And we already have somebody right now. Let's see. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for calling the Legacy Lab. This is Stephanie. Who do I have on the line?
Mr. Christian, Stephanie Miller's husband.
Hey, Carlton. How are you, sir, on this afternoon?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm calling here to support my beautiful wife, who's doing an outstanding job.
You are so sweet. Y'all hear that? I'm just gonna say this because I'm gonna be transparent. This number 2 for me, right? And the second time around, it's just been much sweeter. Um, Carlton told me that a man is supposed to provide, promote, and protect his wife. I never heard it. It's the 3 P's. I'm gonna repeat that: provide, promote, and protect. And I absolutely want to just say publicly that he is doing a great job. For one, he is a man of God. And so I just love that. I love his heart. And thank you, Carlton, for your support. Now, do you have an opinion on this Target boycott?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with it 100%. Is with the boycotts, I do agree. But in today's world, we need resources in order for us to continue boycotts. Because now that we're integrated, we have come dependent on large corporate places such as Target, Walmart, and other corporate businesses through our employment, through resources, through food, through clothing, and those things. In order for us to boycott, if we stop going there, we need resources to continue the boycott. And we have to, I agree with it, but we have to continue to work with each other. And I understand the churches and, the leaders are doing the best that they can, but they have to provide resources for our people in order to do boycotting. You mentioned that we need to have warehouses. All these Walgreens are closing, and we should be able to provide food in by those places where Walgreens is closing, buy those places and continue to use those places when we have situations like this. So in our community, we don't have grocery stores not in our communities, but we can go to our own people and get those resources, such as food, the basic things that we need to continue to not just survive, but to thrive. Because back in the day when we had segregation, we thrived. We depended on each other. We depended on each other. And so now, since we're integrated in this country, we are so now dependent and spending our money outside of our community. So now they have geniusly made us dependent on them once again. Mm. So now we have to go back, not saying segregation, but segregate our economics like other communities that segregate their money in their communities.
That's good, Carlton. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, love. Yeah. That's a great point. Not segregation as in let's not mix and mingle, but just making sure we're taking care of our communities. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like we could be stingy with our money.
Sure can.
We can be stingy with our money. They come in our communities and just they're not putting anything back in our community. They might hire a few Black people, but they're not hiring in our. We are spending $1.8 trillion, and none of that, not even a few percent, is coming back in our community.
Right? How many times is the Black dollar circulated in the community?
I don't even think one good time.
Right.
One good time. So my thing is, Black people are giving people, but we have to learn to be stingy with our money like everybody else is. We have to be stingy with our money too. We have to be self-sufficient in our communities also. We do. We have to be self-sufficient.
Well, I concur with you 100%, and I appreciate your comment. Thank you so much. I'm going to get to a couple other callers, but guess what? The beauty is I will see you later.
Hey, yeah, I'm stingy with my economics and my wife, so I'm stingy with that. I don't share that.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Love you. All right. Love you too. All right. All right. So look, this is good. That was good. That's a great comment. And thank you again. Carlton, my awesome hubby for calling in. So 40 days have passed. 40 days have passed, and Pastor Jamal Bryant said we are still not going back in there. So I want to know, what have you all been doing? Have you participated in the fast on any level? And be honest, no judgment. If you have not, be able to stand on it and share, with your Black brothers and sisters why you decided to not participate in the boycott. I'm sure that during the Montgomery bus boycott, everyone did not follow the leadership of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and the associations that were leading that initiative. But those that did, when everybody band together, we saw the progress, right? And that was longer than a few months, right? It was over. I don't have the actual time, but I'm sure it was almost a year that people had to sacrifice that transportation that was probably very convenient for them. And so 40 days into this thing, beyond 40 days is where we are now. And Pastor Bryant of the New Birth Missionary Baptist Church, he has a membership, I believe, of maybe 10,000 congregants, maybe more. But he has used his faith-based platform to spearhead a financial fast. A pastor using his faith-based platform to spearhead a financial fast. We don't see this televised on a widespread basis. So I think this is phenomenal. Let me see what the people are saying. Good afternoon. Thank you for calling into the Legacy Lab. This is Stephanie. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with?
Good afternoon, Stephanie. This is Pam Kelly
Hey,
with
Pam.
LisaCare.us.
How
Hi,
are you?
I'm doing well. How about you?
I am fantastic. Thank you for calling in. Pam, what's your thoughts on this Target boycott?
Ambivalent. Because it's my understanding that African Americans have quite a few products represented at Target. And I have this belief, don't always throw out the baby with the bathwater. Because while there are pros and cons, I think at the end of the day, what if we do not spend at Target? My question then is, what are we doing with that money that we decided not to spend? Because Target has reported, I think, billions of dollars of lost retail sales, which presumably that is billions of dollars that African Americans did not spend. So while I do support retreating from an amount of spending on retail that we probably need to redirect, perhaps to paying off bills, saving for our emergency fund. And you know me by now, is that perhaps some of that could be diverted to putting in an African American bank. So the boycotts, I think, are only as effective as what we do with the money that we have retreated from shopping at these places. And if we must shop at these places, then shop for those products that are African American representative. And those are my thoughts.
Thank you so much for that, Pam. Thank you so much. There and you had a couple of points, and one of them kind of alluded to what the previous caller said about, you know, if we're doing this, there has to be like a second phase or something twofold, right? What are we then doing?
Right.
And I mentioned this on social media a couple of times. We should definitely boycott. You have to be all in with it. But then what's the plan, right? How do we then support those Black businesses that were present in the store, right? And then how do we also make sure we're building simultaneously? And so that's it. Like, the boycott is a great thing. We do want to make big box stores that don't serve us, you know, we have to stand, it has to, sometimes it has to be all hands on deck, and there may be some loss with it, but the understanding is that in the long run this would be better for all. And so, yes, we definitely have to have almost a two or threefold plan with that. And I would like to think that, Pam, I keep alluding to the Montgomery bus boycott, one of the most successful boycotts in history. I'm sure, those people, they didn't just they banded together, they probably carpooled, they did so many other things, right? That that they had to come together to make sure everybody was able to withstand the boycott, but still not lose their jobs, right? And still get a chance to travel throughout the city and do what they needed to do. And so that's kind of what this is. Like, if we're gonna do it, let's do it, but let's also consider these other things as well that will come into play. Thank you so much, Pam. I really appreciate that comment.
Thank you. Thank you for having the program. I think it's much needed to continue the dialogue. And I agree with you totally that we have to have a plan B, a way of supporting all in.
Yes.
So perhaps for those retailers that are at Target, if they have their independent website, let us just go directly to their website and make our purchases.
Absolutely. That's it. Thank you so much, Pam. I appreciate you. You have an amazing rest of your week.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Whew, that's good. That's so good. We have to resist, refrain. We're participating in this boycott, but we should also be building. One thing that Carlton lifted up, I have talked extensively about the Walgreens that have closed on the south and west side of the city. And Walgreens, I think, is probably slated to close like some around 1,200 stores. But they're in our community. they've closed, right? And so people have lost that pharmacy access, so to get their medicine and other things where there may have been food items like he mentioned, where people, there may have been a community that did not have a grocery store, and so people depended on Walgreens for their basic food items like milk or butter or cheese or whatever, or cereal, things that you can quickly get and eat, right? Especially the elderly community or our seniors. um in church we call them our seasoned saints, right? So they may not be driving, they may be walking, they may be taking public transportation, but Walgreens was easily accessible for a lot of them. And so what's the plan, right? So Pam mentioned we should, think about the Black business owners that are in the store. Now, this is the thing. If you go in that store, say I'm gonna support the Black business, you got to do your research because you need to know what the Black businesses on the shelves are. But I kind of look at it sometimes like, if you are a person that's overcoming from an addiction, you probably better not go into that house where they're selling those drugs, right? Because 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to say 9 times out of 10, maybe less, but you might be tempted, right? So you don't want to go into the fire where you don't want to go into where the temptation is. But like you said, an alternative could be going directly to their website, but it also can be opening up our warehouses, our Black owned warehouses where we house the products, right? In our community, whatever it is. And so the Walgreens location was bought up because of that. But that's just one example of a building in the community where we can come together, bring our dollars together in order to make sure we don't suffer during this boycott, or make sure we are building within our community. You boycott and build simultaneously. So that's the message. That's my message. Now, again, keep the calls coming. Keep the calls coming. I want to know your thoughts about this boycott. Are you participating in the boycott of Target? If so, why? What is it? What's your belief behind that? And are you in? Are you in for the long haul, not just with Target, but with making a conscious effort to support Black owned businesses? Overall, that's what I want to hear from you. So the call-in number again is 708-223-8953. That's 708-223-8953. Thank you for tuning in to the Legacy Lab every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. And today we are talking about a hot topic, the Target boycott. Pastor Jamal Bryant has been on the forefront of this thing. I mentioned that I believe he has a membership probably of about 10,000, maybe more. But this, let me jump to Reverend Al Sharpton. Good afternoon, Carlethia from Virginia. Good afternoon. Hey, Kelly, I see you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. And Carlton, I see you holding on. Thank you so much for tuning in and for supporting. I appreciate you all. Look, like, comment, share. If you can't call in, let me know your comments. I want to hear from you. Your voice matters. I want to know if you are one who has contributed to this $12 billion revenue loss of Target. I know I have contributed to that loss. Now, look, on Thursday, Reverend Al Sharpton of the National Action Network met with Target's CEO. And the CEO of Target, his name is Brian Cornell. They met in New York I believe, at the National Action Network headquarters to discuss, the company's position. Like right now, after walking back its DEI efforts, and now you're seeing all the backlash. Like what's going on? What's happening? Um, Reverend Sharpton called the meeting, and I quote, very constructive and candid. He said that he would inform Reverend Jamal Bryant, of his feelings about the meeting and go from there. And so many people were wondering, like, why Reverend Al Sharpton? That was the consensus on some of the articles that I was reading, and the feedback that I was seeing. There are some activists in Minnesota who actually called for the boycott of Target. Target is a Minneapolis-based company. And so they were even questioning, they were unsure why the CEO decided to meet with Reverend Sharpton, because they said that he had zero involvement in the boycott. Now, I can't say neither here or there. Maybe he did, maybe it didn't make the news. I don't know. But this is what the people are saying. This is what the articles are saying. The People's Union is actually another group who called for a Target boycott. And I believe they're the group that was behind the organization of that economic blackout that happened in February. So the economic blackout overall, the People's Union is one of those organizations that held tight to that and organized around that. Now, my thoughts on the Target boycott. I participated in it, but I participated in it a long time ago. Meaning, I was boycotting Target before the boycott started. And the reason why, and let me go back a little bit. My daughter is 22. Growing up, when she was growing up, I shopped, oh my goodness, faithfully at Target. I called it Target, like many others. One of my absolute favorite stores for everything, and specifically for the cute clothing for toddlers. I found everything there for her, whether it was, clothing to wear to church or things to wear on the weekend, or just beautiful, quality clothing that, was not like some astronomical price. And I would get food items, I would get household items, I would get hygiene. I mean, everything. I would get dog food, everything. I would stock up. I would be that person, kind of like when you go to Walmart and you're trying to go for one item and you end up leaving out spending $200. That was me years ago. But then I mentioned this before, that a couple of years ago, a very wise woman asked me, "What what's your relationship with money?" And so I started to realize that maybe I had like an abusive relationship with money. Like, I work for my paycheck, and majority of the paycheck would go to bills, and then whatever was left, I would spend, or I will overspend, right? If we could be honest, many of us in the United States of America don't even have a $1,000 emergency fund. So when I say overspend, I'm meaning like either your bank balance is insufficient funds, or what you're doing, what we say, robbing Peter to pay Paul, or robbing all 12 disciples, unfortunately, because you just like, it's not enough money. Can I stretch the paycheck? And so once I realized that, and I started to realize that I was just overly consuming. And so it's not smart. The relationship with money was not healthy. And if I could be honest, a lot of times we are spending to look a certain way, to impress certain people that may not even like us nor care about us. But that's what we're doing because we want to uphold a certain image. So whether it's, purchasing hair, or all these other things that we overly consume, whether it's beauty products, whatever it might be. Many times it's not things that we need, it's really just what we want. And so we've overly consumed and we have nothing to show for it. No investment, nothing to show for it. Bank account on zero or negative. And so I boycotted for my own personal reasons, but also I boycotted because I started to see the targets in my community closing. And when questioned about the closure, the response was always, "Oh, everybody's stealing." And as someone who worked in retail a million years ago, I get that, but they steal everywhere. They do. In everybody community, whether it's black, whether you're black, white, or other, people are stealing. They are. But for some reason, it's this thing where, like, when all the stores go, because that was what I was told even when asking about a Walgreens closure. And so I just say, you know what? This cannot be the truth. I'm just not going to support this store. And that was my decision. And it was years I have not stepped foot in a Target. And that's where we are. That's my personal thought about it. So yes, I have participated in the boycott, but call me. Let me know your thoughts. Have you participated? What are your thoughts about this? Are you going to go forward with this economic withdrawal that is on the horizon or being called for by Black leaders? Call in 708-223-8953 and let me hear from you. Let me go a little bit further because one of the callers mentioned she mentioned Black banking Black, and she and I talk a lot about this, and I agree wholeheartedly with her about banking Black. What I often share is that first we have to make it, then we have to save it. A lot of people, you're not really hurting the bank. You kept your balance in and your balance is under $100. But when you start to pull thousands of dollars out of a bank collectively, then they'll start to feel those closures. And so imagine being a business owner and having a monthly revenue in 5 figures. So meaning you are a 6 and 7 figure income earner or more, meaning that your monthly income is at least $10,000, right? That's a little bit over the $100,000 annually mark. And you pull that money out collectively, and it is a wave. And it's happening. It's not happening and being pushed as loud as it should be with the Target boycott. But let me say this, because we hear those two words, Target boycott, and we attribute it, of course, to Pastor or Reverend Jamal Bryant. But let me tell you what he's asking, what the ask was during this 40-day fasting or financial fast. 4 things is what he asked. That during the fast for Target, he asked Target to invest $250 million in Black banks. That's the first ask. So we get it. It's on the radar. The second was for capital. So for homes and business ownership. The third was to invest in HBCUs, invest in historically Black colleges and universities. And the fourth was to re-examine what DEI would look like for your company in the future. So those were the 4 asks. And there are reports that Pastor Bryant did meet with the CEO. Now, I don't know if It doesn't appear from what I was reading that he met with the CEO collectively with Reverend Sharpton, because Reverend Sharpton had a comment that he would inform Pastor Bryant, but he met with him. He met with the CEO. And he said in a video that I watched that they're still meeting, but it was productive. And then in that same video, the statement was, we're not going back in there because the 4 asks have not been met, right? So we're not going back in there. And that's where we are. But understand this. Let's be extremely clear. We cannot simply boycott and not build. It will be counterproductive because we're asking people, companies, organizations, systems that never served us collectively and overall to now serve us. When you come into the Black community as a big box company, you simply coming into the Black community is not helping the Black community. That's not helping, because you're saying, oh, we're coming into the Black community, we're bringing jobs. Okay. That's the thing. That's maybe partially could be acceptable, because it's not to say that the people that are working in your location were people that were unemployed, a part of that unemployment rate for a period of time. Perhaps they're just people that transferred to your store because your store was closer in proximity to their home address, right? It could be a plethora of things. Maybe these people, maybe they're like, I'm quitting my job that I currently have and I'm going to work here. So we can't simply say that bringing a store into our community and hiring people helps the community. But if Target was to do the 4 asks, if you are helping with business ownership, because now we're talking about wealth building in the Black community, right? Let's make it make sense. How is the Black community better because of your presence? Not, oh, you hired 10 people or you hired. No. No, ma'am, no, sir. How is the community collectively better because of your presence? And so that's the question. Now, I personally have no desire to ever support the store because, again, I stopped a long time ago for my own reasons. I'm not the bandwagon girl that has to wait for, I'm a self-starter, like, thinker, and but I also am a team player. So I will join the team for a good cause, for something good, for something good, for something good and moral. And this is good and moral because we're saying, again, how is our community better? Because you're in it. So it's been the thing that I also want to point out about this financial fast is that it was structured. Excuse me, it was structured and it was intentional. It is intentional. I'm not going to say was because it's still happening. The 40-day fast has ended. It was during the Lent season, but this boycott is ongoing. So it was structured and it was intentional. So what do I mean by that? There was an actual landing page, a website created where people can go and sign up as a participant. They can receive a guide of what the 40 days looks like for them. And because this month is Financial Literacy Month and the topic of focus for the Legacy Lab is faith and finances, let me point out that this is a man of God. It's a faith-based platform. And so the 40-day guide was also a prayer guide, right? because there's the word tells us that some things only come through fasting and praying. So this is a financial fast, which must include prayer, because we need a major shift. This is a movement. And sometimes so many of us are, um, you know, how do I say this? I can't think of the word to say, but we have to have some stick to itiveness. We forget, something is happening today, it's a hot topic today, and then next month we're on to something else, really squirrely, if you will. And so when it comes to economic power, we have to stick to it. We have to be structured, we have to be strategic, and we have to be intentional. Because of the intentionality around this guide and a way to even track participation, we see that thus far, and the number has probably grown, over 200,000 people had joined the movement. But we know, if you count somebody like me that's been doing it, right, we know that that number is way larger of people that have boycotted, which is how in such a short time span, $12 billion in revenue have been lost and stock prices have fallen. So this is serious. And I really wanted to just take a moment to share and again kind of hear your feedback, and definitely continue to comment about it. Let me know your thoughts and how you are participating on some level. And again, like the caller said earlier, this is not about segregation or us wanting to. It's just simple, like, look, if you go in any other community, you see the business owners of that community, and so the dollars are circulating 5 times, 10 times in that community. That is not happening on the south and west side of Chicago. It's not happening. And when you go into the businesses, they're not. We may have maybe 2 corridors in the city that I can think of off the top of my head, where you still have some, like, part of the block is Black owned. And I want to shout out to whomever put together that buy in the Black in the Chatham community over, was that this weekend, over this, it so much happens over the weekend. I believe it was this past weekend, but I saw people out. They were supporting the businesses along that 75th Street East Side corridor and dancing and having a great time, empowering one another. That's what it looks like. It has nothing to do. Look, people do not have to be upset about us coming together to support us. Everybody does it. We're not doing it. You heard the caller say we spend $1.8 trillion, but we own nothing. That's a problem. That's a problem. So it goes back to that question that the lady asked me: what is your relationship with money? Are you spending, spending, spending because you want to look a certain way? You want to appear to have $10,000 in your pocket. Really, you don't have a dollar in your pocket. You want to have a purse that's hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars with nothing in it. So it's time to reshape, our mindsets if we are really going to build wealth. I want to thank everyone for listening and tuning into the Legacy Lab. I'm going to be right back here every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, talking about ways that we can increase Black wealth. I have several events happening this week, and I'm so grateful. I'm so excited. On tonight at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, we are coming together virtually again to talk about, and we're educating the masses on how you can build an empire from your home, from your bed, from the beach, after work, for less than a part-time basis in travel. So what is happening is we found out that every time you book a concert, a Broadway play, or a show, a hotel, a flight. Let me take the flight out. A hotel, an activity. So that's like the zip lining, the kayaking, trips to the aquarium, trips to the zoo. So even locally, excursions, ATVs, all the things, you are leaving money on the table when you have not joined the business side of the industry. And again, what we don't know is costing us. Information is power. Not knowing is costing us. So because this was found out and because Planet Marketing was started in 2015 by a Black man, documented multimillionaire, I might add. People are changing their lives for the rest of their lives and then for generations to come. So, talk about a financial movement that is happening in over 21 countries. This is serious, you all. And all it is like, if you're using it, you should own it. If you're doing the work, I don't know too many of us that go to work to not get paid. So if you're the person in your family that loves to research all the trips and people are going to Jamaica and the Dominican Republic and to Santorini and to South Africa, that is phenomenal. But let's educate you on how you can earn some money while you're doing that. And so tonight at 8:30, we're educating people on that. And then tomorrow at 8 p.m., I am hosting a virtual session at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm super excited because we're focusing on Thursdays. We're telling people to bring their glass of wine to the Zoom. And we're talking about wine tours because that has been a thing. And so last week, we focused on Napa Valley, the wine train tours that a lot of people are taking. Tomorrow, we are focusing on some place that I have yet to go, but want to go, and that is South Africa. So tomorrow we are educating people on the wine tours in the Western Cape. So in Cape Town, South Africa, and how you can, so you're not only educating yourself by traveling around the world, these cultural places, right? The world is our classroom, but you are getting paid and bringing that money back into your household. And so, if you want any information about either of those virtual events, again, that's tonight at 8:30 Central, tomorrow at 8 p.m. Central, message me. Get in touch with me. We don't want anybody to not have this information because when you know better, you do better. And then on Sunday, at 3 p.m. at 9210 South Commercial, we will be in the building. We're calling it a Chicago Income and Impact Takeover. We are educating the masses because this is actually bigger than travel. It is a movement to build as many Black 6, 7 figure plus income earners. And I am so grateful because it's in an industry that I'm already using, that I've already been using. So it's not that I'm doing anything different. I'm now just getting paid for it. So I like to share with people that I'm not just getting a confirmation number, I'm getting a commission check. And so, I mean, how do you want to end your 2025? People are barely surviving. Yes, you're boycotting, but if we can be honest, some people are boycotting because they don't have it anyway. They don't have it. And so, if you want to be able to live better, a better quality of life, you have to be able to make a change. You got to bet on yourself. The evidence is out here. We have people that are making 6 and 7 figures residually. And I taught you about residual income. So if you're already making 6 figures, great, you're a part of the 5%. But your 6 figures is linear. You got to punch in for it. You got to show up for it. Imagine making 6 figures while you're sleeping and you can stay in the bed and you can make that 6 figures. Please tell me you don't want that. That's different. So residual income is different. It's powerful. It's on a whole nother level. I'm going to end with this. Isaiah 1:17, because this is faith and finances, this financial literacy month. Isaiah chapter 1, verse 17 says, learn to do good, seek justice, rebuke the oppressor, defend the fatherless, plead for the widow. And so that's all this is. Money is a tool that God has blessed us with. It is He that gives us the ability to build wealth. Poverty, living paycheck to paycheck, is not your portion when you serve a God who is an abundant God, who owns the cattle, owns the hills, owns the banks. He owns everything. He is everywhere, and He sees and knows everything. So if you believe that you and your family and generations to come deserve better, then we should definitely connect so that we could connect you to what that better looks like. And so thank you so much for tuning in to the Legacy Lab, 60 minutes of Black financial freedom. I'll see you, or you'll hear me next Wednesday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Be blessed, be kind.